All right, we're joined here by Mondaire Jones, who is running for Congress in the 17th district, which is sort of a kind of wealthy suburban district outside of New York City, but also has some working class pockets to it. Currently represented by Nita Lowey. Mondaire launched his challenge to Lowey before she announced her retirement. Afterwards, a slew of candidates jumped into the race. I believe there are 8 now running for the seat. Is that eight who have actually gotten on the ballot? Is that right?
That's correct.
All right, so that's huge, and most of them are doing some type of campaigning, as far as I can tell. Like it's not as if there's 2 serious candidates and a bunch of people that just put their names on the ballot. It seems like there are a lot of folks that feel like they have a real shot at this seat.
There are at least half. There are about 4 people in this race who are running very serious campaigns.
All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself and about this district first, and then I want to go through who these different candidates are.
Thanks so much, Ryan, for the opportunity to speak with you and your viewers. I'm really excited to be the only progressive running for Congress in this race. I think we have a very clear path to victory.
And you have the Working Families Party endorsement, is that correct? Any other endorsements?
Elizabeth Warren endorsed our campaign on January 28th. Subsequently, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, a personal hero of mine, with the Working Families Party, the Congressional Progressive Caucus PAC, as well as the Equality PAC, which is the political action committee of the Congressional LGBTQ Equality Caucus. If elected, I'd be the first openly gay black member of Congress, in addition to being a progressive champion for folks, not just in my district, but for all throughout this country if elected.
All right. So, were you born in the district? Tell us about your, how you got to a place where you're now running for Congress.
Ryan, unlike the folks who we're used to seeing in our politics, I don't come from money or from a political family. I'm running for Congress because, for me, policy is personal, and I'm really proud to be born and raised in this district, to have lived here for the past several years, and in fact, to have spent the vast majority of my life in this district. And that is a stark contrast with at least half of the folks running, it seems. Half the folks running against me just moved back to the district, Chappaqua in particular, frankly, over the past few months. And, one person that wasn't even registered to vote, the news reported at the time that he announced his campaign for Congress. And, of course, he is spending many millions of dollars of his own money to purchase this congressional seat, which is why we desperately need campaign finance reform and limits, frankly, on the amount of money that people can pour into an election. But I'm really proud to have out-fundraised the vast majority of the field, largely small-dollar contributions. And many of those contributions started, frankly, with the brief interview that you gave to me back in October, shortly after Nita Lowey announced her retirement.
So among your candidates, there's one who is the son of a billionaire. I wanted to contrast that real quickly with your own upbringing. Were you raised by a single mother?
I was.
And what does she do in the district?
I grew up in Section 8 housing and on food stamps. And my young single mom, still had to work multiple jobs just to put food on the table for us. So when we talk about things like a $15 minimum wage being absolutely necessary at the federal level, that is personal to me. And of course, she got help raising me from my grandparents. My grandfather was a janitor in our local school district, and my grandmother cleaned homes. And when daycare was too expensive, she took me to work with her. So now I get to run to represent the same people whose homes I watched my grandmother clean growing up. And you can imagine that when people like Elizabeth Warren talk about providing universal child care in this country, that is a fight that I want to join, because I don't think that anyone should have to go through what I went through when I was growing up. And that is a stark contrast to a number of the folks running in this race, not least of whom is that son of a billionaire.
Yeah, let's talk about him to start. I want to go through the different candidates. That's Adam Schleifer, who is the son of, where'd the guy make his money?
Lenny Schleifer.
A pharmaceutical company, is that right?
CEO of Regeneron, a pharmaceutical company based in Tarrytown. So he's worth, according to Forbes, $2.3 billion.
What I liked about this guy's candidacy is his kind of claim to fame was being involved in the prosecution of some of the folks involved in that kind of fraudulent college scheme, where the rich people were paying brokers to kind of get their kids into college. Schleifer himself now appears to be doing the same thing, but with Congress as the goal rather than college. And of course, his father made no shortage of contributions to the college that he ended up going to. I think it was Cornell. And it seems like most of his life has been paved by his billionaire father. And it also doesn't appear to be the case that he played a very significant role in those prosecutions. So now, is he one of the ones that moved back recently? And how's his campaign doing?
Yeah, look, he is spending many millions of dollars to purchase this congressional seat. He was on television 14 weeks out from the Democratic primary, which is extraordinary. It's hard to imagine someone looking at Congress right now, given all the deficiencies that we see, folks fighting for corporations instead of for the best interest of the American people, and being, a millionaire or a billionaire and thinking to yourself, you know what, we need more people like me in Congress. So it's been sort of extraordinary to observe, but I'm really grateful to have a message that is unlike any message in the field. It is one that has been resonating with people. Even before we did mail or TV. In fact, at the time of this recording, we haven't been up on TV. We go up tomorrow, Wednesday, May 27th. We were back in February in second place in this race, according to the poll that I had, and second only to a state senator who has spent most of his career in the state Senate caucusing with Republicans, despite running against Democrats.
Yeah, let's talk about him for a second. Is that David Carlucci you're referring to?
That is Senator Carlucci, who was part of this rogue group of Democrats called the IDC for New Yorkers who have been paying attention over the past few years. They caucused with Republicans despite running and getting elected as Democrats in exchange for committee chairmanships.
Did he lose his seat in 2018, or is he one of the ones that survived?
He was one of the 2 of the 8 who were of the 6. There were 6 people who lost their respective primary challenges in 2018. He was one of the 2 who narrowly survived by 1,800 votes, and now he wants a promotion to Congress. And so we can't let that happen. As we talk about flipping the Senate, we have to also preserve our House majority and elect people who can be trusted to caucus with Democrats.
Right. So this is another candidate. So he literally caucused with Republicans and is now running in the Democratic primary in this district in what is a deep blue seat. So then you have Evelyn Farkas. What's her connection to the district, and what's her background?
She grew up in Chappaqua, and after several decades of being away working in Washington as a senior Defense Department official, has returned to run for Congress, and is a perfectly nice person on a personal level. I have tremendous respect for Evelyn and happen to like her personally, but there are real differences between myself and the other Democrats in this race. I don't take money from corporations. I have honored my pledge not to take money from the fossil fuel industry lobbyists who have been showing up knocking on the doors of different candidates. Taking money from the GOP national security apparatus is extraordinary to me in a Democratic primary.
Yeah, Farkas seems to be kind of representing the Never Trump wing of what is now a wing of the Democratic Party. These kind of Republicans who haven't changed their politics, but they left the Republican Party over their disdain for Trump. Farkas has been in the news recently for testimony that she gave as part of the investigation into the potential collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. She had famously said on MSNBC in early 2017 that she had kind of access to classified information that kind of proved that this collusion existed. In her recent testimony, she said that in fact that was not true, that she did not have such classified information, and just kind of said that on television, creating a lot of hysteria around that question. Has that reverberated in the district, that her testimony? Or is it not being talked about? And what's your response to that the revelation of her testimony that she was kind of fabricating that claim?
No, I actually have not been following a specific issue. I will tell you that I don't. When I see people on the right criticizing a candidate, I'm not going to stand with them when it comes to that. I'll tell you that much. I have no problem with Mrs. Farkas' service, but taking money from George W. Bush's director of national intelligence, taking money from Ronald Reagan's chief of staff, is just really extraordinary to me. Again, in a Democratic primary, there have been a number of folks whose money I've turned down in the course of campaigning, and I wish that my colleagues in this primary would join me in that.
All right, so who are the other serious candidates? David Buchwald, is he campaigning much?
He's campaigning. He's
what's his story?
Assemblyman Buchwald is a member of the New York State Assembly, a personal friend of mine. Again, I don't take corporate PAC money. He does. He also voted against historic protections for tenants in 2019, that historic housing bill that provided much needed relief for millions of New Yorkers who desperately needed protections against landlords. And so that is a point of distinction between the two of us. I would not have voted against that bill, and I'm frankly just really disappointed that was his decision.
The final thing I wanted to get your take on. There's been some reporting recently that has highlighted the shift in the Democratic Party that is underway. Thomas Piketty's book that's coming out now is kind of highlighting this, both in Europe and in the United States, that the kind of left parties are becoming the parties of upper middle class to upper class people, highly educated people, rather than more associated with their working class roots. And so the argument is going to be that, well, on economic policy, it's going to be very difficult to kind of run as a progressive candidate in some of these wealthier districts where concerns about taxation and other things may dominate. That yes, these are socially liberal areas, but they're not going to be as economically liberal as the left wing of the Democratic Party might prefer. What have you seen in your district, and do you think that's where the party is headed?
We have tremendous wealth in this district. I describe it, though, as a tale of two cities. The average household income is approximately $100,000, making us the 19th most affluent district. This is Westchester and Rockland counties in the United States of America, but it is also a district where in Westchester alone, over 70,000 households pay more than 50% of their monthly income towards rent and mortgage. And so, and of course, there have been ICE raids all throughout our district, and we are no stranger to the devastating impacts of climate change, especially in our river towns. This is a place where even the affluent want everyone to do well in this country. This is a district where Democrats, even before COVID happened, overwhelmingly supported Medicare for all. So you can imagine what that would look like today in the midst of COVID, where we've seen a national polling show that almost all Democrats support Medicare for all, and a majority even of Republicans, and so in the aggregate of the American people support Medicare for all. So I am blessed to have folks from all economic backgrounds supporting my campaign, people who supported a variety of presidential candidates, oftentimes for reasons that have no reason that have no application to who they want their member of Congress to be. Folks who are betting on electability concerns at the national level, but they want their member of Congress to be the most progressive, which I very clearly am, I think, by all estimates.
Yeah. All right. Mondaire Jones, candidate for a 17th District of New York. Primary is June 23rd, I believe. And we'll be watching this. Thanks so much for joining us.